Hello and welcome to Tennis with Evelyn. Well, we just concluded the Women's French Open Championships. Congratulations to Coco Gauff. And tomorrow we have the Men's French Open Championships between Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, and I cannot wait. I'm going to make my prediction and begin by looking at their head-to-head. Right now it is a 7-4 advantage for Carlos Alcaraz. It wasn't always like that. If you go back to 2022, the last person to beat Carlos Alcaraz at Wimbledon was Yannick Sinner. Then they had their epic quarterfinal matchup at the US Open in 2022, in which Carlos Alcaraz turned the tables, won that match, and then ended up winning that tournament. The last four have gone in the way for Carlos Alcaraz, and two of them are of great importance and significance. Last year they met in the semifinals of the French Open, and that was won by Carlos Alcaraz. And then just a couple of weeks ago at the Italian Open, Carlos Alcaraz also won that. So he has four straight victories over Yannick Sinner, a couple of them on clay, very significant. And that's kind of significant because really Yannick Sinner is ranked number one and has barely lost to anyone other than Carlos Alcaraz. So right now you got to give a little bit of an advantage to Carlos Alcaraz in the head-to-head in their recent matchups. So what are some of the keys to Carlos Alcaraz having a victory? Flair. He has a lot of flair. He loves to get the crowd going for him. That's part of his personality and play style. I am a big fan of SEC football, and Carlos Alcaraz reminds me a lot of Bo Jackson and Herschel Walker in how much explosiveness he has, how much quickness around the court he has. Even his drop shots seem explosive and, of course, with a lot of flair. That's just some of his advantages that he has. Now, it can be hard to keep that going, especially for 5 sets when you have that much, like I said, flair and explosiveness. He can also lose concentration. An example of that would be the Australian Open from earlier this year, in which Novak Djokovic, his opponent, had a leg injury, and a little bit bizarre, Carlos Alcaraz began mimicking him. It wasn't one of his most mature moments, and he lost concentration. So keep that in mind that sometimes Carlos Alcaraz can lose some concentration and make some errors. What are the keys to Yannick Sinner winning? Patience. He gave a master class in patience in his victory over Novak Djokovic in the semifinals. His movement side to side, he got to all the drop shots. He was incredibly patient, and he's going to need that plus a lot more if he's going to get a victory over Sinner. His serve, he needs to serve well. I don't know how many times he would get down 15-40 or love 40 and he would hit those big booming serves. He also follows them up with that forehand and or his backhand, and he backs up his serve. He's going to need his serve tomorrow in order to win. Also, he is going to need to take advantage of opportunities. In the Italian Open final that he had a couple of weeks ago against Sinner, he actually had set points. And I'm not going to say he squandered them because I don't think anybody squanders anything when you play Carlos Alcaraz, but he has to take advantage of every opportunity that he gets. I believe this match will have very, very small margins and be very close. But between the two, I do believe that Sinner needs to take advantage much more just because of the head-to-head matchups that he's had. That accounts for something. All right, so here I am. I got to make my final prediction. Carlos Alcaraz is the defending champion of the French Open. He also has the head-to-head, but he's had a little bit of more. I wouldn't. He hasn't had that much of a difficulty in coming to the finals, but he has lost some sets. He actually lost the first set to Musetti was in a tiebreaker in the second set with Mazzetti, got through that, and then it was basically over after that. But he has lost some sets in this tournament so far, which like I said, it's a little bit of a loss of concentration. I'm going to keep that in mind. The other opponent, Yannick Sinner, has played almost flawlessly in this tournament. He has not lost a set. His toughest match was against Novak Djokovic, which he did win in straight sets, but they were three really difficult straight sets. All right, I'm one of those that the laws of averages have got to finally equal out. And that is why I am going to predict that Yannick Sinner, I'm going to go off on a limb here and predict the number one seed Yannick Sinner to win this. It's mainly, like I said, it's about the law of averages, how Yannick Sinner has been playing, and I think he would have learned something from the Italian Open where he did not take advantage of those opportunities that he had. I think that he will. Maybe it's just the patience. I'm not sure. But I'm going to go off the limb, like I said, and make a prediction on Yannick Sinner. We'll see if I'm right. I can't wait for the match either way. Thank you, and please click like, and please subscribe, and I hope you come back to my channel.